Okay. That is our start marker. I don't know whether we're going to put this on YouTube or not, but at the very least we'll make a highlight for the channel in case people are interested. Okay. So, I haven't looked at anything. I've avoided the internet. I was at work this morning, so I'm a few hours late. Not many. Looked like it only came out at like, what, 9 or something? So, what do we got? Content, challenge leagues, Act 1 changes, flask changes, character skills, passive trees, ascendancies, pantheons, items, uniques, clusters, monster changes, atlas and map changes, atlas passive change. Jesus, they're changing everything. Okay. All right.
And the second last one, which says Royale changes.
Oh my god, it does too. PvP changes and Royale changes. That could have been one heading. Royale is the only PvP that matters. Anyway. All right, the Expedition Challenge League. We don't need to read that. We don't need to read any of that. We already know about the Expedition Challenge League. That's not what we're here for. We're here to cry. Let's move down to some things that might make us cry. Major new content and features. Added new skill gems. Right, so Rage Vortex, Shield Crush. So we don't really need to read through these unless there's one in here we don't know about already.
I'm pretty sure we know all of them.
BalorMage's Cry, Absolution. Applying a debuff for a short duration if a non-unique enemy dies. Enemy corpse will be consumed and summon a sentinel. Restoration of life of the existing one. Yep. Okay, so that's not new. That's not new. Explosive Concoction. I'm definitely going to have to make a build around because that's brand new. Like, how do I not do that? Right. I'm not seeing any new things we didn't already know about here. So this is just far more specific, like, wordings. Introducing a new defense type, Ward, found on expedition items. Ward protects from all damage types, taking damage from a hit before your life or energy shield up to the amount of ward you have. Ward is broken when any damage is taken from it, even if the damage taken was lower than the amount of ward that you have. Ward is instantly restored after 5 seconds. The most interesting part about that is that it's not instantly restored after 5 seconds of not taking damage. It just comes back. Isn't Ward from Last Epoch? I mean, the name Ward exists in Last Epoch, but it functions nothing like this at all. This is a completely different, it's just the same name. Grants Gold Flask grants increased rarity of items found. Okay, well, with them gutting flasks, I'm tempted to use that. The Coronium Flask grants increased stun threshold. You cannot be stunned more than once during this flask. Okay, so that's trash. Iron Flask grants additional ward and restores ward on use. Might be useful.
That one could be good, yeah.
Kindling and Instilling Orbs, we already know about. 12 new divinations, 9 new unique items, 9 new equipment base types. Ooh.
That'll be the ward things.
Right, doesn't health exist in every game? Yeah. It's just the same name, it's not the same mechanic. It wasn't copied from Last Epoch. Okay. Minor new content and features. Lightning Arrow and Lightning Strike now have brand new effects. Do they mean like visual effects or?
Yeah.
Updated the visual effect and audio of killing shocked enemies with Impulse's Broken Heart. Oh, I hope that sounds really, really good. How cool would that be? Ward, they stole that from Hospital Simulator. Buffs that provide all 3 elemental exposures to nearby, such as Raider's Avatar of the Veil and the Archdemon Crown Helmet, now only apply a single visual to affected enemies. I mean, that just like cuts down on visual clutter a little. That's fine. The Stygian microtransaction version of Fireball and Vial, Fireball, Firestorm, Frostblades, and Puncture now use the Stygian Ignite effect. Stygian microtransaction for Conk Path now uses the Stygian Holy Ignite effect. Okay, cool. Microtransaction weapons can now be applied to shields, Pog. That's actually huge. I love it. Yeah, plan on implementing the ability for supporter pack weapon effects to propagate from your main hand to your shield in a later patch. Actually, Pog. That's really good. The Templar received audio dialogue for part 2 of Path of Exile. Just the Templar? The Templar has received audio dialogue for part 2 of Path of Exile. Just the Templar, though.
Maybe he was the only voice actor they could get in contact with.
Just the Templar. That's so weird. Templar, okay, sure. The envoy no longer repeats himself once you've heard everything he has to say. You know, I personally didn't mind that, but that's fine. Added an audio for poisoned ailment effects. But what if I poison something 180 times in 1 second? Like, that's a thing. Added 3D art and updated the 2D art for all alternate for alternate art Divinarius. Okay. Updated the 2D art for the belly of the beast to be more red because it is red. Okay. Continue to implement incrementally improve sound, art, effects, and environment. Ooh, okay. Act 1 changes. We've rebalanced various monsters found throughout Act 1 to make them more dangerous. This is, by the way, the act that I die in on my League Start characters the very most. Is already Act 1. Like, that's most commonly where I die.
Now you get to die before the prisoner's gate.
Oh, no. Now I have an excuse when I die in Act 1 and be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. The rebalance caught me off guard. That'd be great. It'd be great. Perfect excuse. Monster life has been increased by roughly 46% at level 1. Does that include Hillick? Tapering down to the same amount of life at level 84. Some bosses and monsters in Act 1, such as Hillick and Uzwe, have had their life reduced partially to counteract this change. Okay. Monster pack size has been buffed in the later areas of Act 1 and slightly reduced on the coast. A new monster type called Cell Crawlers have been added to the lower and upper prison. A new monster type called Ghouls have been added to the lower and upper prison. Tar Zombies have been added to the ship graveyard. Gross.
Yep.
Kelp, Nimble, Coconut, Spider Crabs, and Squids have all been added to the Cavern of Wrath. You know, that area like had like 2 monster types in it total, so like that's probably great. Prismatic Squid has been added to the Cavern of Manga. Brutus has taken time. Parasitic, right. Brutus has taken time to renovate his area. Okay. You pop off, that's fine. Various effect improvements have been made to monsters. Various audio improvements have been made to monsters. Sure. Class changes. We have substantially reworked Path of Exile's Flask system. Yes, you have. Promoting considered Flask choices that incentivize interactive gameplay. In addition to adding 3 new Flask types and 2 currency items that interact with Flasks, we have also balanced changes around Flask 4 passive skills, Ascendancy passive skills, and items. More information can be found in the respective sections. Okay, we'll get to that. Base. Base character evasion rating has been lowered to 15, previously 53. Characters no longer gain evasion rating per level. Yikes. Okay. Game-wide poison now deals 50% more damage, taking 30% of the combined physical and chaos damage up from 20. Okay. Consecrated ground effect no longer grants 100% increased critical strike for hits against enemies on consecrated ground. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know that was a thing without the like unique flask. Like I've never intentionally used this as a thing, like never ever. This is a nothing.
It didn't used to be a thing. They added it in at some point and now they've gotten rid of it again.
Yeah, I never noticed. Alright, skill gem balance. Added a new arcane skill gem. This applies to skills which care about mana you have spent for the purposes of skills or supports like Arcane Cloak, Arcane Surge, Archmage, Mana Bond, Sigil of Power, and Stormbind now have this tag. Added a new prismatic gem type. This applies to skills which pick random elements to attack with, avoiding choosing the same element twice in a row. Elemental Hit and Wild Strike now have this tag.
Implying there's going to be more coming.
So wait, so two things. That implies there's more coming, and also Wild Strike can pick the same two in a row. This is telling me it can't anymore. That is a change. Wild Strike Pog. I could make a Wild Strike build. Anyway. Shield related skill gems now display their critical chance and attack damage on the top of the skill gem hover. Whatever. Oh my lord. Okay, we're gonna try and scream through this and only stop for the ones that I personally find important, because we know I don't give a shit about your melee crap. They could have added a tag that says all melee skills deal 180% more damage, and I'd be like, don't care.
Yeah, the majority of them are base skill damage up, support skill damage down, mana multipliers up. That's the majority, but not all.
Yep. Right. So Protector, just more damage, damage effectiveness. War Chief, more damage effectiveness. Artillery Ballista, more damage early, less damage later. No, more damage. So more damage on Artillery Ballista. Bane got a nerf, even though it was already a rather weak skill, to be honest. Bit weird.
Well, because of how it functions, it didn't really use support gems the same way.
True. It usually had at least 2 curses as support gems.
So that is its support gem nerf, and it's actually not that bad comparatively.
Yep. That's fine. Barrage doing a relatively important amount of more damage than it did before. That's cool. Blade Blast now has 80% more area of effect per blade vortex blade detonated, previously 35. No longer unnerves, no longer has radius scaling with gems, and now has a base radius of 14 instead of 18. Blade Blast is fucked. That's actually just not... you just don't... That's actually dead. Don't even. That is... They killed that. That is... Ow. Okay, that's a dead build. We're not playing that. They didn't even touch the damage. They're just like, lol, you don't hit anything anymore. Blade Flurry. Slight damage up. Blade Storm, pretty decent damage up. Blade Storm was already a decently good one. So. Blood Rage now costs life instead of mana.
Which makes sense.
That's a buff. Body Swap has a much higher base radius and a little less percent scaling. Someone's gonna have to math that as whether that's a buff or a nerf.
We've already seen that. It ends up being a 2-point radius increase on a corpse.
Okay, whatever.
40 to 42, yeah.
I mean, it's still trash. Chain Hook got quite the damage up. Pity damage was never Chain Hook's problem. Charged Dash, which is one of the worst skills in existence, got a small damage up. Cleave got a pretty good damage up. Right, so all of these melee skills are getting damage up. Cyclone got buffed. from 54% to 59%. They buffed Cyclone instead of nerfing it. I'm sure they'll nerf all the support gems that went with it anyway. But I'm just saying, normally you would expect a 5% nerf. That's just, you know. Dash is now screwed. 2.5 instead of 2. No cooldown at all, basically. Discharge got a buff.
Got rebalanced. The cold damage got buffed and the lightning damage got rescaled, so that it's more consistent between the elements.
This seems like a buff as long as you were not only using endurance charges.
Yeah.
Dominating Blow got a substantial damage buff. That's not bad. Okay. Double Strike, just damage up. Dread Banner halved in Fortify effect. Good stuff. Dual Strike damage up. Earthquake got quite the damage up. From 120 to 150. Quality of Phantasmals. Now increases in reduction to spell damage also apply to attacks from this skill. It now grants increases in reduction to spell damage. Also apply to attacks from this skill at 0 to 50% of their value. Apparently that was too strong. Earth Shatter. Pretty decent buff. Oh my god. Yeah, this one. They mentioned this earlier. Explosive Arrow now deals 5% more damage with hits and ailments per explosive arrow on a target. Previously 3%. That is huge. That is, for people not understanding numbers, that is a fucking massive explosive arrow buff.
How many fuses can you put in a single target?
Is it 10?
Is it
10 or 20?
It might be 20.
Shads?
Yeah, 20. So from 60% more up to 100% more.
20 or 24 with old quality. Yeah, okay, so 20. So that is a huge buff to a skill that, like, Loki was already like A tier in totems. Like, wasn't quite for me personally to play because I didn't really like the playstyle. But there's like a build guide for this already on the website, and like it was already like an A tier starter. It was already capable of doing everything, and that is a massive buff. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to the support gems when I go later down, but even if they halve all of them, this would come out even. So, like, I don't know. Explosive arrow totems might be one of the good,
highly recommended. One
of the good starters if you're okay with the playstyle. I'm personally not. Fire Burst. Level 20 Fire Burst now deals, what's that, like 25% less damage with significantly less damage effectiveness and 50% increased cooldown. That might still be usable. It certainly won't be as good as it was, but it might still be usable. Firestorm. Damage up. Yep. Flame Dash, hard decked. It's fine. Flame Wall. Okay. Flame Wall's nerfed a little. Excuse me. Whew. Flamethrower Trap. Rotation speed no longer scales with increased cast speed. It now has a fixed value. I don't really understand that one. Flame Blast, that is a massive buff too. 130% more spell damage for each stage, previously 120. So you're looking at previously 110, so 20% more per stage, 10 stages, 200% more spell damage. That's a pretty decent buff. Focus granted by certain modifiers now has a base cooldown of 8 seconds, previously 12, and can't recover. Yep. Okay. Frost Blades got a pretty decent damage up. General's Cry is a little more punishing to use. It's fine. Decent Glacial Hammer buff, Ground Slam buff, Heavy Strike buff, Hex Blast buff. No longer has 25% less area damage. Nice. Nice. Ice Crash buffed a bit. Ice Storm now deals 3 to 5 cold damage per 10 in, previously 2 to 4. That's fucking huge. Hello, Ice Storm? Huh. That is actually massive.
Yeah. Average damage from 3 up to 4 is 33% more damage.
Yeah. That's... Ice Storm was like low-key already actually pretty good, and people just didn't do it, even though it was already pretty good. Okay. Infernal Blow, decent buff. Lacerate, decent buff. Lancing Steel, decent buff. Decent buff on Leap Slam for your Leap Slam totems, which, like, I'm not starting Leap Slam totems, but someone has to. And if that's you, please let me know how it goes on, like, day 1 and day 2 and day 3. Just continue to update me on how the fuck Leap Slam totems goes, because I don't know. It just seems fun. Lightning Arrow now deals... Okay. Now shocks enemies as though dealing 290% damage at level 20 instead of 100 and... Cool. Got a base attack buff. An effectiveness buff. Decent, pretty decent buff on Lightning Arrow. Lightning Arrow isn't one of my favorite bow skills anyway, but that's cool. A buff to Lightning Spire Trap? No? Wait. A buff to early Lightning Spire... Oh, you know. No, yep, the whole thing. Lightning Spire Trap back on the menu. Let's go. Huh. That might be enough of a buff that any character, even if you're not a trapper, might end up with like a 3 or 4 link Lightning Spire Trap just to level with for bosses. Just to like chuck down for extra damage, since we're definitely all boned by the time I get to the end of this and don't have anywhere near as much damage as we used to have. Having a 4-link Lightning Spire Trap while leveling is something that I would personally be heavily considering, just to pump out that extra deeps.
Especially with it also scaling off. Oh no, it scales instead of cast speed.
Yeah, instead of cast speed, which is... For early leveling, still fine. Like for you leveling a first character, whatever. I wasn't going to have that much anyway. And that's just a pretty decent damage buff. That's all. Lightning Strike buffed. Lightning Tendrils buffed by a pretty decent amount. Molten Strike. One of the ones that probably didn't need a buff. Got a big one. Nice. Perforate. Reap now grants blood charges when triggered. Could be quite useful. Reeve gets a buff. Rolling Magma gets a buff. Seismic Cry gets, I don't know, removed from the game? Like what? That feels like this was the reason to use Seismic Cry, but anyway. Seismic Trap now deals also a very substantial amount more damage. Have a radius of 9 instead of 7 and 18 instead of 12 for the large bursts. That is a substantial amount more damage. Maybe I use Seismic Trap instead of Lightning Spire. Actually, Seismic Trap maybe I'll use Seismic Trap. Alright, whatever. Shattering Steel. Cool. Whatever. Also buffed. Shield Charge now has a physical tag. Now deals base offhand damage at gem level 1. Is slightly buffed. and pretty decently buffed at level 20.
Yeah, almost doubled.
Yeah. Now deals 3 to 4 physical damage per 15 armor, unchanged up to 3 to 6, previously 3 to 4. So even the scaling is pretty good. Still get stuck on small pebbles though. Shock Nova no longer has ring deal 50% less damage, which is, I feel like a lot of people are going to read over that and ignore it, but that's actually pretty massive, and Shock Nova might actually be pretty damn good. Sigil of Power no longer has increased mana cost of skills while you're in the area, whatever. Soul Rend now deals more damage at level 1, up to a pretty decent amount more damage at level 20. Huh. As for the hit, and a really good amount of buff on the damage over time for early and a little buff. All right, Soul Rend, cool. Smite, decent damage buff. Smoke Mine got hard nicked and no one's ever going to use it again. No longer has increased cooldown recovery. No longer has increased area of effect. Now has a cooldown timer of 5 seconds instead of 2.5 seconds. Now has a base duration of 1 second, previously 5 seconds. Now has a base radius of the smoke cloud is 18, previously 10. Buff now grants 20% move speed at gem level 1, previously 10, up to 29% at gem level 20, unchanged. Like we get a 1 second 20% increased movement speed once every 5 seconds. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Spark now deals 2 to 29 damage, changed from 1 to 29 damage. Spark is now ever so slightly better. Got an okay buff for the higher end and 125 effectiveness. If that's just 100 right now. So I think
it says now has. It didn't say it came from anything previously.
Yeah, so it just had 100. So Spark, Pog. I do like Spark. Spark is definitely one of my favorite spells. Like it's in my like top 5 mechanically for spells. It just this damage has been Spectral Shield Throw's default behavior has been reworked to be similar to the Divide and Conquer Threshold Jewel, which has already been worked. No longer double hits against single targets in general. Now requires a character level 28 to be used, previously 12. Now fires 3 additional projectiles, previously 13. Primary projectile now chains plus 3 times. Additional chains now apply to both primary and secondary projectiles. Shards now deal 50% less damage, previously 75. Damage has gone up quite a bit. Huh. Now deals up from previously 3 to 4 at all levels, so its scaling increased as well. Man, Spectral Shield Throw doesn't actually might be good. I mean, I say good loosely, like it won't be like a S tier for League start, but like it might actually be usable.
Yeah,
that
I remember using it when it came out. It was decently fun for clear. Single target was trash.
Yeah,
so damage up is probably what it needed.
I still wouldn't want a League start like this, but I could definitely get behind anyone making a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever character during the League with this, and I'd see that. Spectral Throw got a damage up. Split Arrow now has an attack speed of 110% of base. Okay. Splitting Steel got a buff and changed its primary to Dex. Yep, changed its primary to Dex. Used to be primary strength, secondary Dex. Now it's primary Dex, secondary strength. Whatever. Static Strike got a buff. Stormblast got an extra 2 to base radius, basically. which is not bad. Storm Call, pretty decent damage up, pretty decent effectiveness. I feel like there's a Storm Call build coming. Golems now have an aggro range of 50. I don't actually know what their old aggro range was.
Neither do I.
So
PoEDB, I guess.
Right? Like, somebody find out if that's a buff or a nerf. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Apparently 40? It was 40. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Granted, summon Greater Harbinger of Time. The aura for the Greater Harbinger of Time now provides 10% increased action speed, previously 20. Aura from Harbinger of Time now prevents, 10%, previously 20. Really, anything that makes us go faster is getting hit. Every single thing that makes us go faster is getting hit. Oh, it's going to be a much slower game. Increases the distance of enemies. Stone Golem use their rot skill. Stone Golems roll 50% faster. Whatever. Sunderer buff. Sweep. Buff? No. Nerf? Wait, what? No, buff. I'm
Buff
just an idiot.
in both accounts.
Number of targets sweep can hit increased to 100. Previously 30. Buff.
So now if everyone in the Royale gathers around you, you can hit all of them.
Yeah. Tectonic Slam buff. Vigilant Strike buff. Not that anyone was ever using this for anything other than proccing Fortify. Welding Blades damage buff. That we don't need that in Royale. That's already. I'm just saying.
At least it was a damage buff and not an attack speed buff.
Yeah. Yeah, but still. Yes. Wild Strike buff and can no longer choose the same element to attack twice in a row. That's actually huge. Wild Strike is one of the few melee skills that I actually like really enjoyed, but it's always been a bit meh. Just that line alone means I could actually try Wild Strike again. In fact, I might make a Wild Strike this league, not as a league start, because I'm not an idiot. We don't play melee for league starts, right? All right. Vial skill balances, they're all pretty much just going to reflect their base skills. Just having a quick scan over them. Oh, nope. Vial Spectral Throw no longer fires 8 projectiles, no longer fires projectiles in a circle. Now fires 8 projectiles in each of 2 mirrored spirals. What? Stores up to 1 use, previously 3. Now deals 110% of base damage instead of 170. Now throws several spectral copies of your melee weapon. They fly out and then return to you in a spinning attack that damages enemies in their path. Okay. Oh, okay, here we go. Added cold damage. Quality. Just changing the chance to freeze on the anomalous. Okay. Added fire damage. Now is a 130% cost instead of 120. Up to 39 instead of 34. Reasonable. Awaken gets the same thing. 44 instead of 49. Yep. Accuracy now is a 120 cost. Advanced traps at a 130 cost. Quality on Ancestral Call no longer gives attack speed, just deals increased melee damage. Cool. Arcane Surge is gutted and basically removed from the game past Act 3. No longer grants cast speed, now grants increased mana regeneration instead of, yeah, and can now support triggered skills, which is like, I guess useful, but eh.
At least you can get it for free off triggering, even if it's much worse.
Yeah. Support skills now gain added lightning damage equal to 60% of the mana cost, previously 70 to 108. Wait, 60 flat? Like they didn't lower it by 10 and have it still like scale up to 98. It's just 60 flat. Supported skills have a base mana cost equal to 5% of the unreserved maximum manu if the value is higher, previously 6. Ow. Can now support triggered. Can no longer support arcane skills. Okay, and they've changed that one to, yeah, just to be the same but for cold. That's rough. Okay. Area of effect no longer grants 10% increased attack speed, instead grants more area of effect. And supported skills deal 0 to 20% reduced damage on the anomalous. Okay. Quality of the divergent area of effect now have half the amount of increased. Okay, sure, whatever. Arrow Nova has 160% mana multiplier instead of 140. No longer grants attack speed, now projectile damage. Same with that. Ballista Totem. Supported skills deal 32 to 34% to 32 to 24% less damage from 32 to 20. Okay, so like a tiny nerf on Ballista Totems. Barrage now 160 mana multiplier instead of 150. No longer grants attack speed. Man, they're getting rid of all the attack and cast speed qualities on things. This is like I don't mind the idea of slowing us down, but I really hate attacking and casting slowly. Like if it could just, they could just nerf the damage and not the speed at which I could do the actual cast, I'd be a lot happier. But okay. Blasphemy. Quality no longer grants 1 to level of curse skill, now grants 1 to level of curse skill at level 5. Okay, sure. For the awakened blasphemy. Blast chain mine is now 50% instead of 30, dealing 33% less damage instead of 25. Blast chain mine, ow. Blind now has a 120 cost multiplier instead of 100. Really? Blind has a one. Okay, sure. Bloodlust now has a 150 cost red of it. Oh. Supported skills now deal up to 39% more physical damage against bleeding enemies instead of 59. Ha. Okay. Bloodthirst now is a 150% instead of 130. Sure. Now deals up to 9% more damage, previously 19. Okay. Alright, whatever. Bone Chill has a 140 cost. That hurts. Instead of 120, that actually hurts. Enemies chilled by supported skills take 29%. Used to be...
No longer
has. And it used to be 14% more cold damage. Huh. Now has supported skills deal 14% more cold damage. Oh.
So it's cold damage instead of cold damage over time, but a lot smaller values.
Yeah, and more importantly, can't be used on a secondary skill to apply Bone Chill for your main thing.
Yeah.
Basically, they deleted Bone Chill from the game because even with the new nerf numbers, this is still way too low compared to what the other stuff's got. You would only use this on a secondary skill. Removed bone chill support? Okay, sure. Whatever. Sure, whatever. Brutality now has a 150 multiplier and only gives 39% instead of 59%. Jesus. Okay. Awakened Brutality now does 44%. Awakened Brutality is worse at max level than the old Brutality.
It's a level 5 current Brutality, yep.
Wow. Wow. Burning damage now is has a 140 multiplier and goes up to 34 instead of 54. Jesus Christ. Is this going to keep happening?
Yep, pretty much all of the primary damage supports are now level 21 is where level 1 used to be.
Oh god. Oh god. Okay. Oh, keep going. Oh, cast on crit is now 29% instead of 39. Okay, that's more reasonable. Yep, same stuff for the woke version. Cast on death has a 0 mana multiplier. Cast on damage taken has a 250 damage multiplier. That's rough. Cast while channeling just no longer has a more damage on it. Okay. Chain is now a 160 cost multiplier. I do like this one where the quality gives chain range instead of projectile speed. That's really nice. Chain now has a 160. Chance to bleed now 140. 19% instead of 29. That's fine. Close combat up to 39 instead of 59. Ah, man. Cold Pen now penetrates up to 34 instead of 37. That's a relatively tame buff compared to the rest of them.
Yeah, actually buffed at level 1. Scaling up to nerfed at level 20.
That's a relatively tame
pretty
nerf
similar
compared to the rest. Cold Defiant now just costs more mana. Combustion costs more mana. Now has a 25% chance to ignite, previously up to 49. Supported skills deal 19% more damage instead of 29. And just flat 10. Okay. Now has 150 cost reservation multiplier for Conk Effect. Instead of one. Man, all the mana multipliers are going. Mana is going to be a massive problem this league. Supported skills now deal 39% more area damage instead of 54. Look, I'm gonna have to sit down and do some math, or someone already has, but this, like, good 6-link skills have been nerfed by up to 40% in the extreme cases. It seems like kind of just bullshit. This looks like more than 40%. I mean, I'm gonna have to look.
Post level 1.
I'm gonna have to look, but like that, this looks like some of them could be as much as 60%. Anyway. Moving on. Controlled Destruction, 150 instead of 130. 25 spell damage instead of 39.
25 at level 1.
Oh, yeah, 39 instead of 44.
But
that's okay. Now supported skills have 80% less critical strike chance, previously 100% reduced. Oh, that's so much. That might be so much you can't even use controlled in a non-crit build that wants to proc EO. Like that's so much you couldn't even proc EO with it.
That takes your base 5% crit down to 1%.
Yeah,
or 6% down to 1.2%.
That's not. We actually can't even use that in a non-crit build now. That's a weird way to do that. Controlled destruction is now only for non-crit, non-elemental spell builds.
So damage over
All
time
two
when you're
of them.
proccing EO with something else?
Yeah, all two of them. That's weird.
Like, I guess you can put it on Essence Drain still?
Yep. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Woke controlled destruction, same garbage. Cruelty's now 150 instead of 130. More damage with hits 24 instead of 29. Maximum cruelty effect is now 40% instead of 50. That's a pretty decent nerf. Okay. Now has a 120 multiplier for Culling Strike instead. No longer grants attack speed. Now grants just increased damage. Okay. Sure, whatever. Damage on full life from 130 to 140. Spotted attack skills now deal 34% more damage. Previously 49. This whole patch note thing is hilarious. We're all so fucked. I'm gonna take coffee breaks while killing monsters. Anyway, it's fine.
You're gonna take toilet breaks while killing boss monsters.
Right? Let's go. Deadly Ailments, 150 from 130. Now deals 44% more damage with ailments from 64. Now, supported skills now deal 80% less damage with hits, previously 10. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. Oh, that is. Ha. Okay. And deal up to 49% more instead of 69. Yep. Efficacy now costs 140 instead of 130. No longer has supported skills deal 10 to 20% more spell damage. Supported skills now have 15 to 24 increased duration. Just doesn't have a more.
It always had two. It had the more spell and the more damage over time.
Yeah.
So they've taken half of it away, but given a little bit of increased duration.
Yeah, nope.
Like that feels like a bigger nerf than most of the others.
That is a much larger nerf than many of the others. That is very rough. Okay, Elemental Army support now has 19 instead of 29. Elemental damage with attacks only goes up to 34 instead of 54. Its max level is worse than its level 1. Okay, moving on. Ellie Focus, 140 mana multiplier instead of 130, 34% instead of 49%. Ellie Focus went up 10% on mana. Quality is now 10% increased to elemental damage. Quality now grants 10% increased elemental damage, used to be 20. 39% more early damage instead of 54. Elemental penetration now 28 instead of 32. Excuse me. Elemental prolift just went up by 10% of the cost. Ooh. Oh, Empower went up to 140 cost multiplier. Oh, that's so many things that's going to affect. You don't even. Oh, that's huge. Oh, endurance charge on melee stun just went up a bit in cost. Energy shield leech, previously 24, now 14 damage on full energy shield. Previously 39, now 24 damage when leeching energy shield. Okay. Enhance now costs 120. Faster attacks now costs 120. Faster projectiles now has 130 cost instead. No longer grants attack speed. Whatever. Fire pen now to 34 instead of 37. Same deal for Awakening, just a little nerf. Fists of War now cost 150 instead of 120. Ancestral boosted slams now deal up to 98% more damage with hits instead of 104, and 69 giggity% more damage with ailments from 100. So nerf on that. Fork just got a mana cost multiplier thing, that's fine. Oak Force, same thing. A little bit less on the quality for the Woke, that's fine. Fortify went up to 140. Supported skills now down 19% instead of 34. This is way more than 40%. I'm going to look for somebody's math when I'm done here, but there has to be a bunch of builds that are down like 60%. Like maybe he meant some builds will have 40% of their damage left. Maybe that's what he meant. Generosity no longer grants a level of, or grants the level at level 5 instead. Sure. GMP now costs 160 instead of 165. A nerf to mana cost multipliers, or a buff depending on what way you look at it. A lower value. Quality no longer grants attack speed, now grants projectile damage. Okay. Awaken, same shit. Yep. Greater spell echo now costs 160 instead of 150. Now has 30% more spell damage on replete, previously 35. Okay. Greater volley also came down to 160 instead of 165. Hex touch now has a 140% cost and reservation multiplier, previously 100%. Yikes! Yikes! That changes some things. That changes some things. Awaken Hex Touch. Quality no longer grants hexes, applies to supported curses, have a 10% chance to affect hexproof enemies. Now grants hexes applied by supported skills have a 10 to 18% chance to affect hexproof enemies. Now also grants reduced curse duration. That's fine. No longer grants supported skills can apply an additional curse. Sorry, what? Excuse me, sir? No one cared about this. No one cared about this. Is the only thing this gem did. Oh, this gem's gonna be like 8C. This is like, you might as well use it because the awakened version is only like 8C, so you might as well, but like it's trash now. Like I don't it's just trash. It's actually just trash. Oh, okay. All right. High impact mind. 50% multiplier instead of 30, 28% less damage instead of 20% less damage. That's reasonable. Along with everything else. Hypothermia now costs 140 instead of 120. Rough. No longer has supported skills have 20% increased effect on chilled enemies. No longer has supported skills deal 20 to 39% more cold damage over time. Supported skills now deal 20 to 29% more damage with hits and ailments against chilled enemies. Previously 20 to 29, and now have 20% chance to freeze enemies which are chilled. Previously 10%.
Rip cold dot.
More damage with hits and ailments rather than more cold damage over time. Do they understand what they did here? Was the person in charge of this support gem not familiar with what is and isn't an ailment?
I mean, a lot of Reddit isn't, so maybe some of the GGG stuff aren't either.
That's actually just what... Hypothermia is actually now better for bleed than it is for cold dot. In fact, if you're a bleed or poison build, hypothermia is better for you than it is for a cold damage over time build. That's this note right here. This is the first time I've read something in this entire list and actually been upset by it. That is a bullshit gem. That's you've removed the entire identity of that support gem. It is now literally worthless, and its only use cases are in things that have nothing to do with the theme of that gem.
Hypothermia ignite. That's what it's meant for.
This is so dumb. This is so dumb. This is dumb, and the person who made this decision should be ashamed. The rest of it has been amusing to me, and I'm actually on board mostly with the nerfing everything, but this isn't like a numbers or a damage nerf or a cost increase. This is literally just wrong. This is literally just wrong. This is wrong. You've made a mistake. Please look into this particular gem. Please look into this particular gem because it's fucked. You've made a mistake. Anyway, moving on. Ignite Prolif has 24% instead of 39. Yep. Immolate just got a mana cost increase. No nerf to it, which is good because we never used it at all. Maybe we will now. I don't even remember the numbers on it because literally was unusable, but now it might be okay.
The Immolate had decent base damage numbers.
Yeah, but never enough to be used. But with everything else getting nerfed, they didn't touch it. Then that's fine. Right. Impale now costs 140 instead of 130. Now has a 60% chance to impale instead of 40. 28% increased impale effect instead of 49. No longer has 5 to 15% more physical damage. No longer has impale damage dealt to enemies impaired by supported skills overwhelm 30% physical reduction. That's a massive nerf too. That is massive. Okay. Increased crit damage is now 140 instead. Blah, blah, blah. Quality now grants slightly less crit multi. Supported skills now have 100 to 138 crit strike multi. Previously 75 to 103. So like a level 2 gem is just as good as a level 20 used to be. And then it just keeps getting better. Quality on Divergent now grants 0 to -15 to damage over time multiplier for, oh yep, plus, so instead of 30 it goes up to 15. Okay. Increased critical strike is now 130 instead of 115. 60% to 170%, previously 80 to 55, and now has 2% base crit instead of 1 to 1.9. Huh. I mean, this is a really nice buff, but they have like hard gutted crit everywhere else. So I'm just not
Every
sure.
way except those two support gems.
I'm just not sure that this is gonna be enough to. I mean, we'll see. That's a lot. That's a lot. Infused channeling now deals 24%, previously 39. Gross. No longer has the totems cannot gain infusion, but can no longer support skills used by totems.
Holy Flame totem leveling nerf.
They tricked me in the middle there. I read that first line. I was like, okay, so we can put it on. No. No. Oh. Now has a 120 inspiration, now costs 120 instead of 115. Now deals 5% more early damage per charge instead of 7. Didn't change any of the crit things. Okay, that's whatever. Intensifies now 150 instead of 140, with 14% more area instead of 22, and 49% area of effect instead of 54. Rather timid change there. Iron Grip just costs more. Iron Will just costs more. Less duration just costs more, really. Quality on less duration. Used to be attack and cast speed and is now increased duration of ailments on enemies. Wait. It now grants supported skills have increased duration of ailments on enemies. The less duration quality.
The anomalous less duration quality.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Okay. Sure. LMP no longer grants attack speed and cast speed, instead just projectile damage. Lesser poison, renamed chance to poison support. Renamed back to chance to poison support, really. Now has 140 cost instead of 110. Lightning pen, same as all the other pens, down to 34, it's fine. Life gain on hit now has a 140 multiplier instead of 150. Life leech is now 120 instead of 130. Life tap now costs 300% instead of 200%. And only deals 19% more damage while you have life tap, previously 29. And now you gain life tap by having to spend like 40% more life, but it's okay because it's 33% more cost to your so it won't be much different, it'll just hurt a lot more. Okay. Mame costs 140 instead of 115 and only gives 19% instead of 30. Enemies maimed by supported skills now take 10% physical damage instead of 10 to 14. Man, we are all so fucked. You know how I used to like red maps by like midday 2? Nope. Nope. Red maps day 4 maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Melee physical dam now grants supported skills have 10% less attack speed. Great, thanks. Awakened melee fizz no longer grants intimidate. Quality no longer grants chance to intimidate enemies. Okay. Now grants supported skill has 10% less attack speed. Okay. I don't think the test you did for Exsanguinate is valid anymore. I don't think the test anyone's done for anything is valid anymore. What do you want about? Okay, there's just... Okay, Woke Melee Splash. Quality is just a little bit worse. Minefield now just costs more. Minion damage just costs more and does 39 instead of 49, but now has 25% less maximum life. So like any minion that mattered will now die instantly. They were already relatively close to like, they were already like borderline. You had to take a lot of defense nodes to make sure that like specters and everything stayed alive.
Any permanent damage dealing minion that really impacts.
I would say even temporary ones that can be targeted. Like Phantasms, for instance, often has struggled to stay alive long enough to do damage in semi-dangerous situations. You had to invest a bit of life and a bit of defense into them just to keep them alive for long enough to do that.
Well, all the support gems got nerfed, so you just choose a different one instead of minion damage.
Yeah, you just stop using minion damage if your minions can be targeted at all. So you could still use it on things like Alakari's Fang or the Herald of Agony one, if Herald of Agony is still even remotely usable, because oh my god, the mana cost of all of its support gems, how the fuck are you going to reserve that? But
you put it in the Herald chest,
like you have to
reservation.
Yep. Anyway, woke minion damage, same thing. Even woke minion damage keeps the less maximum life at the same value. Come on. Minion life now costs less than it did before. That's good because you're gonna need it. Speed now costs less than it did. Multi-trap now costs more. Multi-strike has 20% less attack damage instead of 10, but can now support melee totem skills, which is irrelevant, but cool. Awaken multi-strike no longer grants increased attack speed. First repeat and second repeat now deal 22% more damage, previously 20. Second repeat of supported skills now deal 44%, previously 40. Third now deal 66, previously 60. But supported skills now deal 25% less attack damage, previously 10. Right, okay. Can now support melee totem skills. Yep, there's another bait. I was thinking for a minute that they buffed Woke Multi-Strike, but that they haven't. They've also nerfed Woke Multi-Strike. You just have to keep reading. If you think it's a buff, just keep reading. They'll hit you at the end. Don't worry about that.
There's the TLDR of the patch notes. If you think it's a buff, keep reading.
Yeah. You get to the end and think it's a buff, read it again. You missed something. Nightblade now has a 150 cost instead of 130. Now has elusive from supported skill grants 138 multiplier instead of, yeah, okay. It was 38% increase of elusive instead of 28. This one actually was a buff. What? Right after I said that, of course. Onslaught now costs 120, Fist of Lightning 130, Pierce 130, Pinpoint 150. Supported skills now deal 20% more projectile damage per intensity rather than 30 for the two people who were using Pinpoint support before. Right, renamed to Critical Strike Affliction support. It sounds like a band. Critical Strike Affliction. Yep, no, that's a band name. That's what that is.
I think if you take Strike out, just Critical Affliction sounds like a band name.
That might actually be a band. Right, now has a 140 multiplier, no longer grants more poison damage or chance to poison on hit. Now grants 50 to 58% damage over time multiplier from ailments, for ailments from critical strikes. So when they say renamed Critical Strike Affliction support, What they really mean is removed poison damage support, added a completely new gem that is nothing at all like the other gem. Is literally just a completely different gem.
Well, it does what the gem did before and also a whole bunch of other stuff.
Except it doesn't do what the gem did before. This is a completely new, no longer grants supported crits, skills deal, all supported skills have chance to poison. It's a completely different gem.
Yep, you're right.
Power charge on crit just costs more. Predator costs more. And instead of 25%, it's 12% damage. Oh man, don't start minions, guys, or at least don't start specters. Specters are dead now. Anyway, Pulverize now deals up to 49% more area damage instead of 59. Pulverize, it kind of made it through okay. Still enough, but kind of okay. Rage now has a 140 cost instead of 130. Ruthless now has a 140 cost instead of 110. Ruthless Blow with supported skills now deal up to 98% more damage instead of 123. To 98% more damage with bleeds from 132 rather. Yeah, okay. Sure. Now only supports melee strike and slam skills. Previously supported non-channeling melee attacks. Quality of anomalous, whatever. Yep. This is an insane amount of damage and survivability loss on minions. I'm not even sure they're still alive. I'll have to like go and look into it more specifically, but whoo,
no time for that now. Keep reading.
Yeah, no time for that now, but it's rough. Second Wind has 200% cost and reservation multiplier instead of 125. This is the big one. Supported skills now have 4% reduced cooldown recovery at level 1, previously 5% increased. Up to 5% reduced at level 20, previously 24% increased. That's massive. That's massive. Shockwave now costs 150. Slower Proj actually costs less, 130 instead of 140. Now deals 19% more instead of 29% more. Spell Cascade now makes him deal 31% less damage instead of 21%. Can now support skills with the minion gem tag to affect casting them, but can still cannot modify the skill of minions. Are you telling me that I could put Spell Cascade in to summon minions quicker, but then it won't actually support the minion? Is that what this is?
Yes. You can raise
the
3 zombies in a line instead of 1 zombie.
What? Okay, whatever. Do what you want. And everything will be fine. Anyway. Spell Echo now costs 160 instead of 140. Now 54% more cast speed instead of 70. Woke Spell Echo, same shit that we're experiencing everywhere. Now has a flat 15% chance to deal double damage instead of 15 to 19. At least Woke Spell Echo will still be a chase item, like a weaker than before one, obviously, but like relatively speaking, it's still useful.
Yeah, much less nerfed.
Yeah. Support skills now deal, Spell Totem now deal 24% less damage. Previously 26%. 35 to 26. Now 28 to 24. Is that a buff? Spells cast by totems now have 40% less cast speed, previously 30%. Never mind. Whenever you think there's a buff, keep reading. It's a nerf. Never mind.
The damage numbers were a buff, but not overall.
Anytime you think it's a buff, just keep reading. Oh, Summon Phantasm just had a cost increase. Swift Affliction had a very big cost increase, 150 from 125. Now deal 34% more damage, previously 44. Okay. Same deal with Woke. I'm sorry. Excuse me? Woke Swift Affliction now grants 25% less duration of supported skills and damaging ailments they inflict. Previously 25% reduced duration. You fucking what? Is that the same on this? It is. What? You what? But it got like a normal amount of damage drop as well, and the cost increase that everything else got, and then it just got this bit on top of it. Yeah.
Still not as bad as hypothermia.
No, it's still not as bad as hypothermia. Hypothermia is one that's actually like just literally wrong. It's just a fact that's wrong. Whoever did that made a mistake. That the hypothermia one's fucked. Like that's actually like a mistake. Like we need to bring it to their attention that somebody's made a mistake with hypothermia, right? Right. Awaken, what do we got? Swift Brand. 150 cost instead of 110. Now has 44% activation frequency instead of 64. Supported skills now have 35% less detached duration, 65%, previously 40. Are you kidding me? Okay. Okay.
We can automate flasks, so we have to click less, so we need to click more with other buttons.
Okay. I'd rather not. All right, now traps just have more multiplier. Okay. Trap and mine damage, more multiplier. Ported skills now have 10% less trap throwing speed, previously reduced. Ow. Supported skills have 10% less mine throwing speed, previously reduced. Ow. Ow. That hurts. That is very rough. That is very rough. Okay. Trinity now is 150 instead of 140. Now deals 3% more elemental damage per 5 of the lowest resonant, previously 3 to 5. Supported skills now penetrate up to 16% while each is at least 25. It was 10 to 20, so reasonable. Quality on Anomalous no longer grants attack and cast speed. Now grants a 5% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. Okay. Good story. Unbound Ailments now is a 140 instead of 110. 19% instead of 34. That is very steep. 54% of increased effect of non-damaging ailments instead of 34. So Unbound Ailments is better at increasing the effect of non-damaging ailments, but much worse at damage. Okay. Unleash now costs 160 instead of 140. You know, all these mana multiplier costs, it's occurring to me that Archmage is in fact definitely not dead. The nerfs that happen to Archmage with all of these mana multipliers getting increased by such large amounts, Archmage might still be good. I'm gonna need to look at it. Like, I'm gonna need to see it. But like, it might be enough. I don't know. Woke Unleash. Just got supported skills deal 18% less when occurring instead of 8. Okay. Urgent Orders just cost more. Vicious Proj 49% instead of 59% on pretty much everything. Vicious Proj made it through okay.
Yeah. Kind of survived.
Yeah. Well done, Vicious Proj. Now grants quality now grants up to 10% projectile damage instead of 20. And 54 on all of them. Yep, cool. Vial Toxin now has a 150% cost instead of 120. Now deals 19% more instead of 49. Ha! Now deals 5% more with hits for each poison on the enemy. Up to 5 to 8. Previously 6 to 9. That is very, very rough. Holy crap. That is a massive nerf. Okay. 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 That feels very large. Okay, whatever. Void manipulation. 140 instead of 120. Supported skills now deals 34% more chaos damage instead of 39. Okay. No longer has supported skills deal 25% reduced elemental damage. It now has supported skills deal no elemental damage. Okay. Okie dokie. Yep. Cool. I mean, when you were using void manipulation, that one made it out quite okay, to be honest. 34 to 39. Yep. Like, that's pretty cool. Cool. Okay, well, that's the end of the skills. We got a whole lot of passive tree changes. There's no way I'm looking over them without looking at a passive tree, unless there's something super important written in here that somebody from chat wants me to read. I would rather look at these when I see the actual tree. We will have a look at here at ascendancy balance. Sorry. Yes, there is. Dynamo. Control F. DYNAMO. Dynamo notable now grants recover 10% of mana over 1 second when you use a guard skill, previously 20%. Oh. Command of Steel got gutted.
Yeah.
Command of Steel. Command of Steel. Command of Steel notable no longer grants 1% increased damage per 1% chance to block attack damage. It now grants 5% increased attack damage per 5% chance to block attack damage. Okay, so it's now attack only. So spell builds can't use it. So those exsanguinate scion people that had 75% block just got dicked. Again, just to add to the there's been a lot of dicking going on today. I'm just saying, like, we were prepared. Like, I woke up this morning and went and bought lube. I knew how much dicking was going to happen today, and I'm still surprised with the amount of dicking. Like, I got a whole tub of Vaseline and I'm not sure that it was enough. There's just a lot of dicking going on here. Not going to be able to sit for a week.
Well, good thing you got a stand desk, because League starts in less than a week.
Right? Ah. Okay, ascendancy balance changes. Hierophants no longer has immunity to ailments, now has 50% reduced effect of non-damaging ailments while you have Arcane Surge. Okay, good story. Inquisitor Pious Path no longer creates consecrated ground. No longer causes consecrated ground you create to grant immunity to ailments to you and your allies. Not replaced with anything, we just got rid of that. Okay. Slayer Headsman is now called Bane of Legends. Bane of Legends is now called Headsman. Fuck off.
That was a big facepalm for me.
Actually, just fuck off. Like, whoever did, literally go fuck yourself. What? What? Do you know how hard it is for me to remember any of this? You can't just swap the... God damn it. Champion. The small passives prior to and after Unstoppable Hero no longer grant 5% increased effective Fortify on you. They now have 5%, 10% increase to attack damage while you have Fortify. Pathfinder no longer grants immunity to elemental ailments during flask effect, no longer has 40% increased elemental damage during flask effect, now grants removes elemental ailments when you use a flask. Not removes an elemental ailment, removes elemental ailments. So all of them, every time you use a flask. So that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Master Toxist. Now his poisons have a 20% chance to deal 100% more damage instead of 30. Sure, whatever. Raider's Avatar of the Veil no longer grants immunity to ailments while phrasing, now grants 50% chance to avoid elemental ailments while facing. Still pretty decent. Rapid Onslaught no longer has 50% increased onslaught effect. Is that the first one or the second one?
The first one. The 100% on the second one's still there. The first one is literally just Onslaught. No. That'll be the only text on it.
Right. I just want to... Right. Yeah. The Rapid Assault, 50% onslaught effect, Onslaught. So it'll just be Onslaught. And then we still get 100% increased effect from the second node.
And 30 off the 2 minors.
Yeah. It's not too bad. Raid will still be fast.
Yep.
The small passives prior to and after Quartz Infusion no longer grant 4% increased movement speed, now grant 10% increased elemental damage. What if I want to make non-elemental raiders? Don't be a dick.
Trees.
Just say 10% damage. Don't be a dick about it.
To be fair, if you're going up that way, you're going to Avatar of the Veil, which has the exposure anyway.
I mean, yeah, but I already went that way for literally for like chaos skills. Like, there's just no reason to be a dick about it. Like, just say damage. Why elemental damage? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Assassin, Noxious Strike no longer has 30% damage multiplier for poisons. Increased poison duration for each poison is now capped at a maximum of 100%, previously uncapped. That's a pretty fucking heavy nerf. Toxic Delivery now has poisons you inflict critical strikes deal 25% more damage, previously 50. Cool. Elementalist now no longer has 25% increased effective buffs granted by golems, or 25% increased effective buffs granted by your golem per summon golem, and now has 100% increased effective buff granted by your golems. Elemancer no longer has 35% immunity. So this one's just going to be resummon golems, 100% increased effective buffs, and +1 to golem. And that one's just going to be, that's still going to be 25% increased effective buffs granted by your golem per summoned golem. So we're still going to get that on the Elemancer. But we lose, essentially we lose half of it because we used to get 25 on each and now we've got 25 on only one.
Well, you get a flat 100. So
but we get
you
a
had
flat
4
100
golems from that node and however many golems you have for the other node.
It feels like that doesn't feel like Elementalist is as dead as people are saying. That feels like the perfect min-maxed 9 golems with like 900 and whatever percent golem effect stacking bullshit is probably not viable anymore. Like those extreme cases of bullshit. But like if you weren't super into it like that, then it's probably actually still fine.
Yeah, you can probably drop Primordial Chain, get a proper amulet and still go fine.
Yeah, that feels okay. I don't think Elementalist is dead. Okay. Ascendant no longer has immunity. Yeah, right, the Inquisitor got the same nerf. Cool. Right, Pantheon balance. Upgraded the Soul of Yugal Pantheon to no longer grant 5% reduced cold damage taken if you've been hit recently, and now grants 20% reduced effective curse on you. Literally everyone's going to need that. Upgrade Soul of Radakesh. Pantheon power to no longer grant cannot be blinded and you cannot be maimed. Now grants corrupting blood cannot be inflicted on you if you have at least 5 corrupted blood debuffs on you. Spoiler alert, 5 corrupted blood debuffs on you will still murder you. That is not good enough. That is, you just, you are, if you have 5 and it just stops there, you die anyway. Like anyway. Upgraded Soul of Gurakan? Panther, whatever. No longer grants 6% movement speed if you haven't been hit recently. Now grants cannot be blinded and cannot be maimed. I saw it said movement speed, so I took it away. Yikes. Reading the alley thing from they're missing damage and golems. Yeah, no, I get it. They're also going to be missing a decent amount of damage. I'm just saying I don't think it's completely dead. Control F speed. Delete. Yeah. Okay, item balances. Sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus, how much more is there? Okay, whatever. Item balances. You can no longer obtain 21-23 quality gems outside of the Incursion Temple and specific divination cards. Chest / rewards that previously would have given 21-23 gems now instead give a level 21-20. Whatever. You can no longer... And... Ragenham, thank you very much for the prime. You can no longer obtain level 2 and higher versions of Empower, Enhance, and Enlighten gems from League rewards. Level 4 versions can still be obtained from Corruption and specific divination cards. Catalysts no longer affect the chances of rolling related modifiers on jewelry through crafting, and quality on jewelry is no longer removed when crafting specific currency. Jesus Christ! Are you sure? Was that a thought out decision? Is everyone over there okay?
The thought was Control F deterministic crafting delete.
Okay, whatever. Blessed boots have been renamed Fugitive boots? Okay. Fugitive boot implicit is now 17% chaos res instead of 13. Amethyst rings are now 23% chaos res instead of 13.
Amethyst ring's actually solid.
The Sorrow, Atonement, and Penitent Mask base now have 10 to 15% fortify effect instead of 20 to 25. Veiled modifiers are no longer considered crafted modifiers. Veiled Chaos Orbs can no longer be used to obtain multiple veiled modifiers on an item. The tier 4 Ashling Benchcraft reward that adds veiled modifiers now first removes a random modifier. The veiled modifiers that cause you to trigger socketed spells when you use a skill now has a 250% cost and reservation multiplier. Yikes! Modifiers on items that trigger now have a 100% cost. That is, oh Jesus Christ. Okay. Synth modifiers that grant reduced flash charges used can no longer roll. Synth implicit modifiers that increase fortify effect can no longer roll. Influence and essence modifiers on weapons can now roll up to 38% increased impale effect on two-handed weapons, previously 22, and 25% increased impale effect on one-handed weapons, previously 15. Okay. Lancing modifier on abyssal jewels can now roll 5 to 6% increased impale effect, previously just 5. Impale chance. We can just get more of that. Added the suffix modifier to regular jewels, granting 5 to 7% chance to impale enemies on hit with attacks. Okay. Damage over time multiplier prefix modifiers for weapons are now suffix modifiers and can no longer be rolled as a prefix. This includes veils and crafted modifiers. This is a buff. I'm pretty sure this is a buff. Like 90% sure this is a buff. Whew, all right. Dual attribute veiled crafted modifiers can no longer be rolled with other modifiers that grant flat amount. Sure. The Blessing of a God divination card has been temporarily disabled from dropping. Literally don't even know what that is.
That was the Elrond jewelry card.
Glorious Texas.
At
Even 15 months.
Just want to say what the fuck. They nerfed pleb gems and builds what the fuck.
They've nerfed everything. I'm just saying. Oh, that was Elrond jewelry? Why would you stop Elrond jewelry? God damn it. Because fuck your mana. That's why. Okay. The Abyssal Jewel modifier that grants 30% accuracy if you haven't killed can no longer roll. Failed modifier that make increased effect of fortify is now 50 instead of 120. Veil craft to grant increased effect of fortify while focused, now up to 35% instead of 90. Crusader influence modifier that granted increased effect of fortify can no longer roll. Essence of Horror could no longer grant 15% increased effect of fortify on amulets, now grants 15 to 25% chance to crush on hit. Okay. Shaper influence rings that granted reduced curse effect have been increased to match the values for the similar Crusader influence ring modifier. Existing rings can be modified with divine orbs. Right. Okay. So they just made them equal. All right. The highest tier modifier of Shaper influence boots grant chance to avoid ailments has been lowered from 31 to 35 to 22 to 25. Lower tiers and Maven versions of these modifiers have been lowered accordingly. Jesus Christ. All right. Veiled modifiers for armor used to grant up to 45, now only grants 30. Crafting bench version has been lowered accordingly. To what? Is to avoid ailment crafting bench modifier can now be crafted on boots and shields instead of gloves and helmets. But what if I don't want to wear a shield? Oh man. The value of the top version of this modifier has been lowered from 21 to 25 to 16 to 18. Jesus Christ. This whole thing is fucked. Holy shit, we're all boned. This is great. Here's the good note. Okay, keep reading.
Yeah, you're not done yet.
Keep reading. The highest tier modifier on Shaper Influence boosts. Oh, we've already done that. Where are we up to? Here we go. The Labyrinth Boot Enchant that grants increased mana regen if you cast a spell recently and now only grants 35% instead of 70. Okay. The modifiers that grant increased poison duration to socketed gems are supported by poison can no longer roll. Existing items with this modifier will now be supported by critical strike affliction. Okay. Modifiers. Quicksilver Flask now consumes 30 of 60 charges, previously 20 of 50. Diamond Flask is now trashed. No one will use it. The Ruby, Sapphire, and Topaz Flasks now last 5 seconds instead of 4. Now consume 20 of 50 charges instead of 30 of 60. Quartz Flask now gains 6% chance to dodge attacks, previously 10, and 6% chance to dodge spell hits, previously 10. To be honest, we mostly use that for phasing. Granite Flasks now grant 1500 armor instead of 3000. Jades grant 1500 evasion rating instead of 3000. Stibnites no longer grant 100% increased evasion rating, now grant 20% more evasion rating. Now consumes 40 of 60 charges, previously 10 of 30. Now requires level 40 to use, previously level 14. Oh, Jesus. Basalt Flask no longer grants 15 Fizzmint. Get physical damage reduction and 20% of melee damage taken to reflect. Now grants 20% more armor and taunts nearby enemies on use. Now lasts 5 seconds, previously 4.5. Oh, everything's so fucked. Silver Flask now lasts 4 seconds instead of 5. Now requires level 40 to use, previously 22. Sulfur Flask now lasts 5 seconds instead of 4. Now consumes 40 of 60 charges, previously 20 of 60. Amethyst Flask now lasts 4.5 seconds, previously 3.5 seconds. Consumes 35 of 65 charges on use, previously 30 of 60. Bismuth Flask now lasts 5.5 seconds instead of 5. Now consumes 15 of 40 charges on use instead of 20 of 50. Okie dokie. Okie dokie then. Aquamarine Flask no longer grants 20% chance to avoid cold damage. Now grants 40% reduced effect of freeze on you during flask effect. Chilled ground radius is now 28% instead of 16. Now consumes 20 of 50 charges. Interesting alternative to having an anti-freeze flask. Just to have an aquamarine flask and just accept that you'll be slowed instead of frozen. I mean, you'll still be like technically frozen, but like you'll be able to move. So the Enduring Flask prefix no longer has 30% reduced duration. It now has 66% reduced amount recovered, previously 30%. Ha! God damn, they really don't want anyone playing Archmage. Holy shit. The Off-Dowsing Flask no longer... Oh yeah, this will be of all of them no longer grant immunities unless you actually remove the thing, except for curses, which just don't grant immunity at all. Experimenter's Flask prefix. It's now only 30% duration instead of 40. Surgeon Flask prefix can now roll on Diamond Flask. The Chemist Flask prefix now has 15 to 20% reduced charges used instead of 25. Okay. Does the staunching one mean you don't remove bleeds? No. Staunching stuffing no longer grants immunity to bleeding and corruption during the flask effect, or removes bleeding or corrupted blood on use. It now grants immunity to bleed for 1 second if you use while affected by a bleed, and removes corrupting blood when used. It means the same as every other thing here, which is that you can't just have it on to avoid getting affected by those things. You have to reactively press it once you are affected by those things. Or alternatively, put on a corrupting blood jewel and just forget the bleed exists, except we're all going to be cursed now, so we are going to be bled, so that's not an option. You're just all fucked. Everyone's fucked. TLDR. Fuck you. Story over.
We heard beast crafting was too deterministic, so we removed some of its effects.
Okay, anyway. Right, general nerfs that we knew about. Just everything generally weaker. The Veiled Craft Flask modifier that gave 50% chance to avoid being stunned and 8 to 12% increased movement speed just doesn't grant the movement speed anymore. Not really shocked at that. I gotta tell you what, the more I look through these patch notes, the more I'm laughing, but the more that I'm like actually concerned. like I'm not, I don't know if I can take enough copium pills for this. Oh, like I'm laughing and it's funny, but like, oh my God. Oh, I hope they know what they're doing. Don't have to worry about 100% delirious maps anymore. No, because none of my characters will be able to do 100% delirious maps. I tell you what, I did say I could do everything in like 3 days and the game was boring. I fucking not doing everything in 3 days this time, I'll tell you that much.
Your wish is granted.
It's gonna take me 3 fucking weeks to be able to do tier 16 juiced maps without delirium. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'll really enjoy it once I start. I don't know. Whew. All right, unique item balance changes. Oh, Hayforge unique gloves don't exist anymore, so they don't matter. The Mjolnir unique Gamel no longer has 100% increased spell damage and triggered, now grants 80 to 100% increased lightning damage instead of lightning damage with attacks. Oh. Socketed spells triggered by Mjolnir have a 0% cost reservation multiplier. They have no cost.
Yep, Mjolnir is still a chase item.
Well, I mean, this is like a 4C chase item, but you know, sure. I don't know if chase item's the word I'd say, but usable. The modifier on Militant Faith that grants 1% reduced cost of skill per 10 devotion can no longer roll. Existing items with this modifier will be replaced with a modifier that grants 1% reduced mana cost per 10 devotion. Okay. The modifiers on Triumvirate Authority? Triumvirate? That sounds more like a word than whatever I said. Triumvirate Authority unique ring now grants socketed Vial skills 1 additional use and can no longer roll. Okay, whatever. Oh. Divide and Conquer jewels have been named Seething Fury and have been reworked. No longer changes the behavior of spectral shields or blah 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 blah. Don't care. Asylum Helmet now has socketed trigger bow skills deal 40% less damage, previously 33%. Okay. Brutal Restraint Timeless Jewel could no longer alter passives to grant 8% increased non-unique flask effect. Okay. Instead, they now alter passives to grant 25% chance to gain Alchemist's Genius on flask effect. The fuck is that? Is that like a Pathfinder thing? The fuck is Alchemist's Genius? I don't think it... Is a cluster notable? Okay. Whatever. For extra spot, unique ring can now has a radius at which it can spread elements to other of 20 units, previously 25. Okay. Pledge of Hand unique war grant now grants 50% increased maximum mana, previously 100. Facebreaker unique glug modifier 50% more physical damage with unarmed attacks, now says 50% physical damage with unarmed melee attacks, so that we can't use it with throwing our flask at people. The Doriani's Fist unique glove modifier, same shit with the amulet. The Martial Artistry unique jewel passive skills also grant 1% increased attack with unarmed attacks, is now grants 1% increased attack with melee skill. Okay. Did they mention Spellslinger? They don't have to. Spellslinger's dead. All of the supports that you want to put with it now take so much more mana multiplier that you won't be able to reserve anything. I hope you enjoy having like a 3-linked Spellslinger, because that's all you get. Rumi's Concoction unique flask now has 8 to 12% chance to block attack, previously up to 20, and 4 to 6% chance to block spell damage from 6 to 10. Jesus. Lion's Roar unique flask now has 7 to 10% more melee damage instead of 20 to 25. 7 to 10%. More like Lion's Roar. Fucking what Lion's a garbage meow. Flask. What a garbage flask. What is this? Oh no. Oh no, I don't want to read this one. Oh, if I don't read this one, then it's fine. It didn't happen. Oh no. The Bottled Faith unique flask no longer grants 1 to 2% the critical strike chance against enemies on consecrated ground during effect. It now has 100 to 150% increased critical strike chance against enemies on consecrated ground, and 20 to 40% increased duration, previously 30 to 50. You know what the sad part is of this nerf? This is still going to be an expensive flask, because even though this is trash compared to what it was, all the rest of them are even more trash. So it's still the best flask you can get, even though it's trash.
For all the people still playing crit builds.
Yeah. Ziri's Promise Unique Flask has now got gained 5 to 8 fizz damage as extra chaos instead of 15 to 20, and 5 to 8 elemental damage. It's previously 10 to 15. Oh. Dying Sun has 20% area instead of 25. And 125 to 150% increased charges used instead of minus 10 to 10. And now has a 40 to 60% reduced duration. This is... I'm telling you, we've lost 60 to 75% of our power on average. That's what this is feeling like. 60 to 75% like on average. And that we were told 40% in the extreme cases. This is on average 60 to 75. With some people getting more than a 75% nerf. I'm maybe they were referring to the extreme low end. Cinder Swallow Unique Flask now spawns with either recovers life, recovers mana, or recovers energy shield. So you get one of the three, not all of them. It now has plus 90 to maximum charges and 250 to 300% increased flask usage. But now recharges 5 charges when you consume an ignited corpse. Okay. Taste of Hate Unique Flask now has 15% physical damage taken as cold instead of 20, and gain 15% instead of 20. Quite a reasonable nerf for that one, considering. The Wise Oak is now 6% instead of 10, and Penetrate 8 instead of 15. It's okay. Vessel of the Vinctar now has increased charges used and adds significantly less damage in every version. Yikes. Just pretty trash all round. Witchfire Brew no longer has increased damage over time. Witchfire Brew like kind of made it out okay. Corralito's signature unique flask no longer grants 75% increased duration of poisons you inflict during flask effect, or grant perfect agony during flask effect. Now has take 2 to 300 chaos damage per second during flask effect, previously 30. Now has grants poisons you inflict with critical strike 20 to 30 damage over time multiplier.
Yeah, going back to Witchfire for a sec, you remember Stib Knights are not 10 out of 30, they're 40 out of 60 now?
Yes.
It's still going to end up costing way more charges than before.
But also has minus 10 to 10% charges used. It was previously 50% increased.
Yep,
so if you can get that at
instead of
minus
being
10.
15, from 10 to 15, it's now 40 down to 36 in the best case.
Yeah. So like 2 passive nodes on the tree and you can get 2 uses out of the flask. It made it out better than all the others that got shat on more.
Yes.
This one's
agreed.
still usable. Several of these are so bad I would never touch them again. So like, I mean, like it's still usable maybe. Noodle, thank you very much for the raid. This is not looking good. Oh, this is not looking good. I'm aware of the 40% damage. I'm aware of all of the things I'm saying compared to the gutting of all the rest of the flasks, which Fiber made it out a little better. It's still garbage, but all flasks are garbage now. Even the magic ones that we rolled, they're all trash. Trash is the new norm. This one is slightly less trash than the other trash we've been given. This is new trash that hasn't touched the other trash in the trash can yet. So it's slightly less dirty than the other trash we've got. Okay? Okay. Keep going. The Rut got unique flask no longer has increased movement speed during effect or increased charges used. Now have gain onslaught for 3 seconds per frenzy charge on use. Whatever. The Soul Catcher unique flask now have Vial skills have 60 to 80% increased crit during flask effect instead of 120. Vial skills deal 80% increased damage instead of 120. Vial skills now have 10% reduced soul gain prevention, previously 40%. Okay, well, we already weren't using it because it was too hard. Now it's just impossible. That's fine. Forget that exists. Move on with your life. The Kiara's Determination flask that no one ever uses now has 60 to 80% reduced duration, previously 60. Okay, so that's not even really... Okay, whatever. Forbidden Taste now has 25% of maximum damage taken of maximum life taken as chaos damage per second. Previously 8%. 25?
Now use the new flask orbs to scale its effect up.
25? Well, I'm not using that. Blood of the Karura unique flask now has 50% increased life recovery, previously 100. That's usable still, maybe. Deirdre's Elixir flask now has 250 to 300% increased charges used, previously 150. Now removes 80% of maximum energy shield on use, previously 20. Now causes you to take 50% of your maximum life as chaos damage on use, previously 10. Now grants 1 to 3 power charges on use, previously 1, and 1 to 3 frenzy charges on use, previously 1, and 1 to 3 endurance charges on use, previously 1. This flask is like, this flask almost kills you instantly. Not like hurts you a little bit. This flask almost kills you. Overflowing Chalice unique flask no longer has increased duration. It now has increased charge recovery of 60% instead of 100. 50% increased charges gained by other flasks during the flask effect. Previously 100, so just you have to get a good rolled one now. Okay. Winterheart now regenerates 10% of life while frozen instead of 20. That overflowing Chalice, I might actually want that. Oh, okay. Cluster jewel notables. Can I just assume everything is nerfed? That's a lot.
Just assume everything's nerfed and be pleasantly surprised later when a couple of them aren't.
Assume everything is halved. Assume everything is halved.
If you control F over time in that section, you'll get a general gist of what's going on.
5% damage over time, previously 8. 5% damage over time, previously 10. 15% damaging ailments on enemies, previously 25. 6% damage over time, previously 10. 6 damage over time, previously 10. I get the point. I get the point.
Yeah.
Cooked Alive is now minus 5 res instead of 10. Burnt Notable, 8 damage over time instead of 20. Ignite Steel damage 8% faster instead of 15. You get the point. Everything is fucked. We already knew about this Hollow Palm nerf, 40% more attack speed instead of 60. We already knew that that happened. That was in yesterday's. Cold Conduction.
Oh, yeah, that
no
was
longer
important.
grants enemies chilled by your hits are shocked, or enemies shocked by your hits are chilled. Now grants 25% increased effective lightning ailments against chilled enemies. Okay, so rip the way people were doing self-chill. Rip the easiest way to do self-chill. As well as just like a pretty decent amount of damage in many other builds. I've used that in a pretty decent amount of builds. Grand Holy Conquest notable no longer gives cast speed or movement speed. Grand Design notable now grants 10% cast speed. No longer grants 10% cast speed, now just 20% damage. Gross. Notable grants 15% chance to avoid ailments instead of 30. No longer grants 10% increased cast speed or 5% movement speed. What? What does it even give now? It's just the swap thing, yeah. There's going to be a whole lot of builds that just don't build cluster jewels at all anymore because excuse me, many of these are now just flat out worse than the nodes on the tree, unless they've also nerfed the nodes on the tree.
Well, you skipped that bit until you could see them on the tree, remember?
Yeah, I'll come back to that. Monster changes act bosses throughout the campaign now drop fewer but significantly better items. We'll be the judge of that. Rebalance the ailment threshold for monsters. Game-wide poison now does more damage. Al-Hazim's snakes deal less damage. Puncture's base damage has been buffed by approximately 20% and bleed damage by 25% for all monsters that use Puncture skill. Not gonna lie, Puncture was already one of the dangerous things that could hit you. Improved audio and added dialogue for many delve bosses. Yeah, cool. Map tiers and locations have been shuffled. Praise the Lord. Don't know if I'll be strong enough to map, but at least if I am. Oh. Whew. Why wasn't that done last league? Jesus. Anyway, areas inhabited by abominations can no longer be rolled in Maven invitations that didn't do anything. Sure. The Harbinger bosses from diplomatic escort passes now spawn far fewer monsters. They have more threatening skills to compensate for this. to, to compensate for this, we nerfed them and made them harder. We nerfed their reward and made them harder to compensate. To compensate, you nerfed it twice. That's not here's a nerf and something to compensate. That's here's I made it worse and here I made it worse again. What are you talking about to compensate? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Zana League mods available. Fortune favors the brave. Abyss no one cares about. Anarchy no one cares about. Domination is pretty cool. Might need the shrines. Nemesis would be great, but we don't need it anymore for making headhunters, which I'm probably going to need just to even function at this rate. Metamorph is somewhat useful. Ritual, nice. Ritual. Oh, Delirium at 16 Chaos is back, but no one will be strong enough to run a Delirious map.
Delirium's different to 100% Delirious.
I'd like to spend 16 Chaos to have a map kick my teeth in twice and then the fog disappears. Woo! This is gonna be an interesting league. Interesting. Okay, user interface. Non-damaging ailments. Non-damaging elemental ailments appear applied to your enemies and now display their effect. We saw that. It looked cool. Is that the same one you just gave me before? Have I clicked the same link like 3 times now? Yes. Stop linking it. The tooltip, skill bar and character panel, which is fine now to play damage per second. Cool. Added support for stash tab affinities to the heist locker and new expedition locker. Once the affinities have been set to the locker, control clicking applicable items from your inventory into your stash will always send it directly to the appropriate locker. Why don't you just make it a stash tab and then give it to us for free, since you've given us the locker for free? This isn't hard.
I mean, at this point, it is a stash tab, except that you can't access it from the stash.
Right, which is just annoying. It's just inconvenient for no reason. Can't you just make it a stat? Added 4 new free colored mouse cursor variations. I'm actually really happy about that. That makes me super happy. As you can see, my cursor in my actual window is larger than normal and purple. So this is good. Added the default mouse cursor and cursor size settings under the UI option category. Your default mouse cursor will be used in character select and in game. Very nice.
Yeah. This is the only buff that doesn't become a nerf when you keep reading.
Yep. Very nice. All free cursor variations are now equipped through the UI option instead of the cosmetic panel. Fantastic. Added a show bar toggle to the performance metric details under the graphic option. The advanced mod description setting has been removed from the chat category. Moved from the chat category to the UI category in options. That makes sense. Added a warning when you try to replace an existing enchant with another through a specific harvest crafting option. Rage indicator bar now shows up more quickly. Blah, blah, blah. Added new option for controlling item drop sounds in item filters. Custom alert sound optional. Disable drop sound if alert sound, and enable drop sound if alert sound. I don't really know what that means.
but I'm sure Neversink will put it to good use.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm sure it's a buff. More options can only be better, but I don't really know what that means. Right. Quest rewards. I don't really need to read through these, do I? Brand recall is no longer offered to the witch. Okay. Okay.
Basically, a bunch of gems got moved around or removed from certain classes, and the flask rewards got shuffled because the levels required got changed on some of them.
Whatever. The witch just doesn't get brands? Is that what's happening here? Or they just don't get offered them?
They'll still be able to buy them, they just don't get them as a free reward.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Mac OS changes, don't care. Sorry to the 3 people in the world who are running Macs to play video games. But stop and buy a PC. PvP changed. Focus, Ballista, Blast Chain, Mind Sport, High Impact Mind Trap now applies 60-minute damage penalties against players. 2 skills it supports. Okay. Sure. Players now drop their items while leaving mid-game. Okay. Good story. I mean, I guess useful.
As you said right at the very start, they could have put PvP changes and royal changes into the one section.
Yep.
They are literally 1 line each.
Bug fixes. Right. Anything I care about in here? Never heard, blah, blah, blah. Ignoring maximum distance. Meh. I think I'm done with all of this.
Fixed a bug where the Stygian Spectral Shield Throw microtransaction had a slower projectile speed than the base visual effect. It's the reverse pay to win that EK had. And same Templar was slower.
Fixed a bug where golems wouldn't revive if you died while they were reviving. I like that. Cool. Let's see, an awakens. All right, let's just refresh and just see if they've fixed hypothermia in the meantime. No. Someone's legitimately right. TLDR, the entire patch notes. If you thought you were going to be okay, you're not. Go fuck yourself. You don't get to use flasks anymore. You don't deal damage anymore. Most of your defenses are screwed, and somebody made a horrible mistake with hypothermia. Like, I legitimately, actually, hypothermia is wrong. Like, we can be upset with the other nerfs, but someone actually ruined the hypothermia gem from its entire purpose. It's literally better on a poison or bleed build than it is on a cold damage over time build, and by a decent amount. It doesn't make any sense at all. The hypothermia, we can complain about all the other ones because everyone's been fucked, but here's the reality: if everyone is fucked, no one is. We are all in this together. No one made it out okay. We're all fucked together. This has been a giant fuck orgy, and we have all been on the receiving end. We are all bottoms. GGG is the top. They have fucked all of us equally. Anyway, that's the TLDR.
I don't know if you opened Madaki's link from earlier, but there it is again.